Detroit Lions. As terrible as this season's been, as awful as this season's been, and as mediocre as this game that we watched today has been, they're still there. They're still in the thick of things, and there's still a chance. And what did we learn from Rogue One? There's hope. When there's hope, there's a chance. When there's a chance, you can win, and we're going to defeat all the teams ahead of us here in the playoffs. All right, guys, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this game, and let's put it in the capsule that it was. And we saw a San Francisco 49er team in that first quarter. They got out to a lead of 14-3. Yes, right there at the beginning of that second quarter, we saw Colin Kaepernick go 8 of 8 as he took the 49ers ahead of our Seattle Seahawks. And was I worried? Yes. Were you worried? You should have been. This team did not look good. This defense did not look good. This offense did not stay on the field. And that's a concern. That's a huge concern as we go into the playoffs. But if there's a bright side, we saw the Seahawks come back. And Colin Kaepernick was 8 for 8 in that first quarter, and he was on fire. But he ended up 17 for 22. And that's still a good percentage. Don't get me wrong, that's really good. But he ended up with only 215 total passing yards. So his passes after that 8 for 8, and when he marched his team down twice and tried to put a stranglehold there on the Seahawks, the rest of the game, he didn't do much. He did not produce much at all. What did we see? We saw him get sacked 5 times by the Seahawks defense. And throughout the rest of that game, I saw an aggressive defense who was punched in the mouth. We were punched in the mouth, don't get me wrong. First quarter, it was a smack to the face, but our defense stepped up, and one Frank Clark was very important in that. All right, guys, it wasn't just the passing game, though. I mean, in that first quarter, we saw Sean Drones of the San Francisco 49ers. He kind of went off a little bit, too. He started off with 2 touchdowns, 2 quick touchdowns. And that, he was benefited by the passing game with the 8 for 8 completion percentage by Colin Kaepernick. But later on in that game, what did the defense do? What did the Seahawks defense do? They limited him. They stifled him. They prevented him from doing anything after that first quarter. Yes, he got his 2 touchdowns. But what was his total for the entire game? What was the reason why those San Francisco 49ers did not score more than 23 points? It's because we limited Sean Drones to 21 attempts for 41 yards. That's a major win. We were getting beat up, but we made sure to stop these guys. We still don't have a running game, though, guys. And when I watched this game, when you watched this game, did it occur to you there was no running game? I hope so. I hope that's been your thought this entire season. Because what did we see? We saw Thomas Rawls, who we had all thought that Thomas Rawls was going to be the savior. He was going to change everything. Did he? No. Not in this game and not in the games preceding this. Think about this. Thomas Rawls has 300 some odd yards running. But he hasn't played that much. He's played in 8 games. 8 games is half the season, I get that. But this is a further indictment on Thomas Rawls because he has only achieved 330 some odd yards in 8 games. His average yards per carry is 3.9. 3.9 on any other team would get you kicked off. That'd get you booted. That's not good. That's not good at all. What is Pete Carroll doing? Is Pete Carroll keeping him healthy for the rest of the playoffs? Or is there something wrong with Thomas Rawls? Is there some sort of injury bug that he's been dealing with and is going to continue dealing with and will never get back to where he was last year when he was running for 200 some odd yards per game? I don't know. But what I do know is that Alex Collins, we had a sighting of Alex Collins this last game. What I do know is that Alex Collins, the rookie out of Arkansas University, you know, the guy who's only been the third person in SEC history to run for 1,000 yards in 3 consecutive seasons. And then we're talking about Herschel Walker in that conversation and Bo Jackson. Alex Collins made an appearance today and made himself known. He had 7 carries for 55 yards. 7 carries for 55 yards. His most impressive game to this date this season. I'd wondered. I'd been asking some of the other people on this show, what happened to Alex Collins? Why isn't he out there? I want to see more of Collins. I want to see him river dance his way into the end zone. But he's never been given a chance. Who's been in front of him? Obviously Rawls. But Christine Michael? Why? Why couldn't Collins make it above him? Why couldn't he take carries from Michael? Why couldn't Collins get carries ahead of Tremaine Pope? Why couldn't he get carries ahead of CJ Procise? I don't know. Pete Carroll's not telling us either. There's something wrong here. I want to see more of number 36. I want to see more of number 36, and I got to see it today. I got to see the 7 carries. On the season, by the way, he's had 24 carries for 70 yards. 1 touchdown. 55 of those yards, again, were today. That was impressive. That was really cool. I want to see more of that. Maybe we won't see it in the playoffs, though. Here's my thought. See if you're following along with me here. I bet you that Thomas Rawls has been kept for the playoffs. They've told him not to run too hard. They only gave him 8 carries today. 8 carries, he only got 14 yards. Maybe they told him, save it all up for this next game, either against Detroit or against Green Bay. We'll see. Hopefully, it's not a matter of him being over the hill. Well, not over the hill in age, but obviously over the hill in as far as relative to injuries, which is a possibility. It's unfortunate, but it's a possibility, guys. Keep in mind, I want to put this out there to you. Injuries can hamper a person and put them on a career track that's not going to be useful or successful. I'm worried about Tyler Lockett. I know you are too. His injury is pretty gruesome. Thomas Rawls' injury last year was just as gruesome. We'll see. We'll see what happens against either Detroit or Green Bay next week. All right. I want to talk about Frank Clark and Jarran Reed. Frank Clark and Jarran Reed. What was this all about at the end of the 4th quarter? Can anybody tell me? If you can, leave some comments below. I'd like to know. But Jarran Reed, if you remember, towards the end of the 1st quarter, 49ers scored a touchdown. 49ers were at just within 3 points of tying up the game. They kicked the extra point. They went for the extra point, and what happened? Jarran Reed blew up the center. He blew him up. Well, there's a problem. You can't touch the center on an extra point. And Jarran Reed, with his Alabama Crimson Tide education, doesn't seem to remember that. I don't know what his problem is. I don't know if he didn't know the rule. I don't know if he just was angry or upset. Hopefully we'll find out more about this. But he committed an infraction that gave us a 15-yard penalty. Could have lost us the game. We were only up by 2. We're only up by 2 with 3 minutes left on the clock. He could have lost us the game. And what happened? 15-yard penalty, and Jarran Reed is kicked out of the game. He's out. Gone. What's his problem? And I'm glad that our defensive end, Frank Clark, second-year player out of Michigan, grabbed him by the shoulder pads and shook him like a rag doll. Tried to shake some sense in him. What is wrong with you? Jarran Reed fights back. They get into a scuffle. There's this whole thing going on the sidelines. And I posted a comment on Facebook. And I wrote, Pete Carroll, this team's out of control. Pete Carroll we are literally falling apart. We've seen it last week, with Richard Sherman spouting off. We've seen Richard Sherman spout off actually several times. We've seen players going off script. And what did we see today? We saw Frank Clark and Jaron Reed get into it. I'm happy about Jaron Reed getting shook around. And I hope that Pete Carroll sits him down and sets him straight, because Frank Clark was right. Frank Clark was like, man, you cannot be bugging out here at the end of the game. You cannot be bugging out when we're only up by 2 points. You can't do that. And I mock his Alabama education, but that's the kind of thing a dummy does. If you're not very smart, that's the kind of thing you do. And that's what Jaron Reed did. Listen, man, you got to be a little bit smarter about this. All right. Well, I'm going to run a break here. We are the Seattle Sports Union. I am Abraham DeWeese, and behind the camera, I have Bob Lucky. Catch you in a few minutes here, and we'll talk a little bit about this offense and defense on the Seahawks. Seattle Sports Union. Welcome back to Seattle Sports Union. My name is Abraham DeWeese. This is the Seattle Sports Union. We are the best in local Seattle sports commentary. Check out our website. We have a lot of great blogs, a lot of great postings on seattlesportsunion.com. We also have a great Twitter feed run by one Kevin Kaepernick, and his Twitter feed is at Seattle Sports U. Check us out on Facebook. That's Seattle Sports Union as well. We're here on YouTube. That's right. We're here on YouTube and Facebook Live every week, and we're here to talk about Seattle Seahawks. All right, guys. A little bit earlier, I talked about the running back situation. A little bit earlier, I talked about the other team. A little Colin Kaepernick action, a little Sean Drones, their running back. But what I was really curious about, what really infuriated me, what really set me off, what's the deal with Trayvon Boykin coming in at the end of this game? We were up by 9 points late fourth quarter. Pete Carroll puts in the backup quarterback, Trayvon Boykin. Trayvon Boykin, the rookie out of Texas Christian University. The former Horned Frog jumped in, looked awful to begin with. Looked a little bit better towards the end of the game, but I don't want to talk about his performance. I mean, his performance was what you would expect of a rookie who hasn't really played when the game actually meant anything. He looked meh. Who cares, though? I mean, you took out Russell Wilson. Why'd you do that, Pete Carroll? You almost threw this game away. It's not like this game didn't matter. This game did matter. This game was the difference between the third seed playing the loser of the Detroit and Green Bay game, and the fourth seed playing a red-hot New York Giants team. And you don't want to play the red-hot New York Giants, okay? Listen, you treated this game, Pete Carroll, like it didn't mean anything. It did mean something. So why'd you put in Trayvon Boykin? I want to hear more from him this week. I'm going to be listening on the radio. I'm going to be watching the television. I'm going to read the newspapers and all the blogs out there. And I want all you guys out there to read our blog, that's Seattle Sports Union at Seattle Sports or SeattleSportsUnion.com, because I'm going to be writing about it this week, and I want to find out why the backup quarterback was put in. There better been an injury or something, or at least I hope there wasn't. But whatever. It's ridiculous. It's fundamentally the dumbest thing that I've seen Pete Carroll do in quite a while. Well, let's move on to Jimmy Graham, because that quarterback situation has been bothering me the whole day. All day long, it's been annoying me. Jimmy Graham has had a good game today. Made a lot of catches. Number one receiver this game with 6 catches. Jimmy Graham caught one down there at the 1 yard line that very few other receivers can do. There was like a nice little 20-yard fly ball out there. He caught it. There's a defensive back all over him. He took it and kept our drive alive. You know what, though? We're giving this guy, what, $7-8 million a year, $9 million? I don't know. However many millions that is. He only has 61 catches for 859 yards. 61 catches for 859 yards. That's a mediocre receiver, guys. This is the passing era. This isn't the days of Steve Largent. This isn't the days of, Jerry Rice, and this isn't the days of Don Hudson. This is 2016. Well, now it's 2017. 61 catches for 859 yards and 6 touchdowns does not warrant you, Jimmy Graham, getting $7, $8, $9 million a year. It's ridiculous. It's awful. It's stupid. And I defended the trade when it happened, when Max Unger came to the team. I defended Jimmy Graham being on this team, and one of our writers here, Matt Page, told me I was wrong. I was an idiot. I'm a fool to believe in Jimmy Graham when Max Unger is a solid Pro Bowl player. Well, heck, I guess I am a fool because I believed in you, Jimmy Graham. But 61 catches, 859 yards, and 6 touchdowns, that's not good enough. That's pathetic. You better show up. You better show up in these playoffs. Because what you did this year does not warrant the amount of money that you make. If you were getting paid on a sliding scale, you'd probably be making, in NFL terms, a mere pittance. And you'd be cut. If you didn't have a guaranteed contract, you'd be cut. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about this Seattle Seahawks defense. This Seattle Seahawks defense lost their title, lost their mojo. This Seattle Seahawks defense had been, for 4 years running, the best defense, scoring defense in the NFL. 4 years in a row. Never has been done before. This Seattle Seahawks defense had, for 4 years, led the league in limiting opponents in scoring. It's crazy. Never been done before. This is a legendary defense. This is the type of defense that everyone else should model themselves after. This is a defense that this year at 17.9 points per game still came in second, and that's good. That's really, really good. But they lost a little bit of their mojo this year, and you saw the loss of Earl Thomas. You saw injuries to Cam Chancellor and Michael Bennett take a little bit of the luster out of this team. So it's going to be up to guys like Jaron Reed, who I spoke of before. It's going to be guys like Frank Clark, who I spoke of before, to pick up the mantle of leadership, learn that they need to carry on what their predecessors have done for them. Second's not bad, guys. I mean, it seems like a participation award. I get that. But gosh darn it, 4 years in a row of leading the league in scoring defense is pretty darn amazing. We also ranked 7th in total yards. As bad as this season seems, do not panic. We're still in the playoffs. Do not panic. It was a 10-win season. That's not bad. This is yet another playoff appearance, and this is pretty gosh darn good. I'm going to move over to offense here a little bit. Um, as much hope as I want to give you about this defense, when you take a look at the numbers for the offense, it's not a good situation. And we look at an offense that is going into the playoffs having only scored 21.9 points per game. 21.9 points per game. I just told you that we limit other teams to 17.9 points per game. Let's round that up. 18 points. We're only beating teams by an average of 3 points per game. I guess that's better than the Cleveland Browns. They're not beating anybody by any points per game. I guess that's better than the 49ers. They're losing left and right as well. At least we're in the playoffs. That's the bright side. The problem is, look at this pass offense. This pass offense is ranked 15th in the league. This run offense is ranked 22nd in the league. These are not good offensive numbers. Who do I put that on? Darrell Bevell? Darrell Bevell for not having any idea how to deal with a team that has injuries? Do I put that on Tom Cable for consistently putting out there offensive linemen who have no business being offensive linemen? The answer to that is yes, yes, and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson does not look good this year, guys. He's not looked good at all. He has a terrible offensive line. I get that. He has running backs who get injured left and right. I get that. He has an offensive coordinator who is in love with bubble screens. Just loves them. Bubble screens. Hey, is it 3rd down and 9? Bubble screen. Is it 1st and 10? Bubble screen. It doesn't matter. Darrell Bevell loves the bubble screen. But Russell Wilson is ultimately in charge of this offense, and he's not gotten the job done. And that's a problem. Russell Wilson has many times, 50% of his sacks that he's had, on those occasions, he's had time. Many times this season, he's had time to get rid of the ball. He doesn't do it. He holds on to the ball thinking that he's much faster than the defensive players, but he doesn't realize defenses in the NFL have caught up with him. They've definitely caught up with him, and he doesn't seem to get that. He needs to get it through into his skull that they've caught up to him, and he needs to do something different. Darrell Bevell, you definitely need to do something different. Tom Cable, you need to get some different offensive linemen. There's a couple good ones out there, but you got to do something about that offensive line. All right, well, enough railing on the offense there. I could go on for another 45 minutes on that. But with our last couple of minutes here in the show, I just want to talk about some of these rookies that we saw this season. As of right now, I don't know who's going to win, Detroit or Green Bay, but there's some amazing rookies on this team. And I want to tell you a little bit about them and just give you my thoughts. I'm going to give you a grade. I'm going to give you some sort of grade, kind of like back when you're in grade school, A, B, C, D, F, etc. If I may start with one, Germain Ifedi. Germain Ifedi is an offensive lineman, obviously out of our first pick this year, and he's out of Texas A&M. Germain Ifedi, number 76, he has done okay, done well. Had some holding penalties, had some false starts. Today he had a really bad false start. But you know what? He's big, bad, and mean, and on that offensive line, it's just basically he and Justin Britt. And it's good to see that we've got somebody in Germain Ifedi who is capable. He has the talent. He has the raw talent of dealing with some of the best defenses in the league. Rookie. Obviously, he's a rookie. That's a problem. That's the problem with the entire team is they're putting rookies. We're the 10th youngest team in the league because we put rookies in key important positions. Ifedi should not have been thrown in to be a leader on this team, but he's trying. He's doing a good job. All right. Let's go to our other rookie, a guy who should have been a first-round pick out of Alabama, the Crimson Tide, 18th pick in the draft. 49th pick in the draft, one Jaron Reed, defensive tackle. What do I think of Jaron Reed? Jaron Reed, obviously, what we've seen this season, he's a run defense specialist. He's not going to be an every down guy like a Michael Bennett, not going to be a Frank Clark, not going to be one of those guys. But with the second round pick, that's not a bad thing. I mean, with the first round pick, you got Jermaine Ifedi, and he did a great job as far as much as a rookie could do. And you can envision in your mind that Jermaine Ifedi is going to be a every down guy, and that's great. That's what you want out of a first round draft pick. Out of a second round draft pick, you need somebody that fills a purpose and meets a need, and that is Jaron Reed. A little bit of a knucklehead. What did he do today? He blew up his center when he didn't need to. That was kind of stupid. Not kind of stupid. It was stupid. It was just plain stupid. And it got him kicked out of the game, and he got in a fight with Frank Clark. And what we hope for as Seahawks fans is that he will be sat down and talked to, and Pete Carroll will set him straight. Because if he's not going to get that figured out, Jaron Reed can get the heck out for this team. If he's going to be a troublemaker, get the heck out of here. Otherwise, we could use you. You can contribute. There's a lot you can do. But you're just a part-time player, Jaron Reed. Don't forget that. All right, next guy is a running back by the name of C.J. Prosise out of Notre Dame, Fighting Irish. This guy was amazing in the few times that we saw him. Injury prone, though. Guys, C.J. Prosise is injury prone. He's missed the first few games of the year because he had a hamstring injury. And now he's been out for the last 4 or 5 weeks due to a different injury, due to a different foot injury. And I don't know. I saw him against, what was it? Was it Carolina? No, might have been Cardinals. He ran for a 58-yard touchdown. It was amazing. Nobody could catch him, but he got injured. That's his history. That's what happened to him at Notre Dame. This third round pick for C.J. Prosise is exactly, it's coming to fruition, exactly what we thought. That a guy who's always injured in college is going to carry that over the NFL, and that's what's happening here. The guy has world's talent. The guy is probably your best talent in the entire 2016 draft. I'm not kidding, guys. He's the best talent in this last 2016 draft. He just can't stay on the field, and that's going to be a huge problem, and that's going to dog him for a long time. He's going to keep getting injured, and that's going to be a recurring theme with this running back core that we have. All right, let me go through these next few here quickly as we run out of time. The tight end, number 3 pick, tight end Nick Vannett out of Ohio State. I'm sorry, the Ohio State. Sorry you guys lost last night, but then again, so did my Huskies. So, not so sorry. Nick Vannett, a couple times that we've seen him, he's looked good, but we need to see him more. My opinion is if there's a way to get rid of Jimmy Graham and keep and make Nick Vannett more of a important piece, I say do it. Find a way to make that happen. Otherwise, we got some sort of big cluster at tight end, and it doesn't make any sense. Maybe Luke Wilson leaves next year. I don't know. Next guy up is third round pick out of Boise State. That's right, the Broncos, the guys with the Smurf turf. One Reese Odiombo. Reese Odiombo has been pretty amazing in the couple times that I've seen him. Now, there's obviously something that the Seahawks don't see in him that I do see in him, and we'll figure out what that is. But I saw him just physically molest people, defensive linemen. And I want to see more of that, and hopefully we see him as a future left guard or left tackle. From what I understand, he plays well on the left side, but maybe he just needs to get the conditioning and the strength up to the NFL level. A couple other guys here. Defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson has been injured the whole year. But what I want to really get back to is one Alex Collins, the running back out of Arkansas. Alex Collins again showed me quite a bit today. The guy out of the River Dancer. He's the River Dancer. Check my article. I wrote a big article about how much he loves Riverdance, right there on our website, seattlesportsunion.com. Check it out. But he ran 7 times for a pretty good chunk of change today. And I don't understand why we don't give him more opportunities. We saw Rawls start the game, but maybe it should have been Alex Collins and save up Rawls for the postseason. I like him. The fact that he's only run 24 times in 16 games tells me that the Seahawks don't like him. The fact that he was placed behind Troymaine Pope when Pope was healthy means the Seahawks don't like him. And the fact that some guy I never heard of took a carry today, some Kresick, JD Kresick or whatever his name is, took a carry before him, means that the Seahawks don't like him. And I'm a little confused if he's going to be dumped at the end of the season. We had some other guys like Kenny Lawler and Zach Brooks. They were let go. But we did get to see a little bit of our 6th round pick in Joey Hunt. Joey Hunt, the center, replaced Justin Britt for a game. And we saw him get overpowered and beat up and molested and thrown around like a rag doll. The kid out of Texas Christian University, I really wanted him to be better, but obviously Justin Britt has proved that he is an NFL player. He is NFL caliber, potentially Pro Bowl actually. And Joey Hunt proved he is just a rookie that has come out. And hopefully he can build up his skill set, build up his strength, build up his knowledge of the game, and get to the point where we see him as an important player on this offensive line. But if he can't break into this offensive line right now, I'm a little worried. All right, guys, that comes to the end of our show. We're going to see if next week we play either Detroit or Green Bay. I'm excited. I'm stoked. I'm very happy about this. I'm a little worried about some of the offensive problems on this team, but just got an update from Bob Lucky, our producer and behind the screen guy. He just told me that Green Bay lost. Wait, they won? Oh, okay. That means we're going to play Detroit. Oh, good. Because actually, I'm kind of terrified. Breaking news, guys. Sorry for that delay there. Breaking news. Green Bay is beating Detroit. They're probably going to win, which means Seattle plays Detroit, which I'm more excited about. I'm actually kind of terrified of Green Bay. When we went in there and we lost at Green Bay, that did not look good for our squad. Detroit has been reeling. They have been stumbling. They've been a bumbling, and I think we can take them out. They don't have a defense worth a darn. Mighty good quarterback in one Matt Stafford, mighty good receiver in Golden Tate. We'll get to see him, but we'll get to see them here and take them out. And tell you what, don't miss that Green Bay New York Giants game. That's going to be a barn burner. That should be exciting. You're talking about Aaron Rodgers versus Eli Manning, Odell Beckham. That's going to be a hoot and a holler. I can't wait to see who wins that one. But more interesting, can't wait to see our Seahawks next week against the Detroit Lions here in Seattle at CenturyLink. Guys, we are the Seattle Sports Union. My name is Abraham Deweese, and behind that camera again is Bob Lucky. We will see you next week. Check out our great articles on seattlesportsunion.com. Check out our Twitter feed at SeattleSportsU. And, of course, leave comments below as to what you think about our Seattle Seahawks. All right, have a great night, guys. We'll see you next week. Go Seahawks.